Behind the scenes, Irene Ryan led a life very different from the backwoods matriarch she played on the Beverly Hillbillies. Her career included vaudeville, radio, Broadway, and television. She was more than just a grandmother. She was a seasoned performer with a lifetime of experience. However, after the camera stopped rolling, her marriage and financial success, as well as the eerie abandoned house associated with her name, took an unexpected turn. An devastating turn, and regrettably, tragedy struck just as she was beginning a new chapter in her career. Join us as we explore the intriguing little-known tale of Irene Ryan, her ascent to fame, her last days, and the legacy she left behind. Irene Ryan was born Irene Noblet in El Paso, Texas, on October 17, 1902, and experienced show business for the first time at the age of 11. At the age of 11, she performed in an amateur competition at San Francisco's Valencia Theater and won $3 for singing Pretty Baby. It was evident early on that Irene was destined for the spotlight, but it would take a few more years before she formally began her career. At 14, she was determined to succeed in the field, and by lying about her age, she was able to get a job with a California stock company because, according to the state's child labor laws, she was too young to work. School never really piqued her interest, and she only finished 2 years of high school before deciding to devote herself entirely to the stage. She spent the next 4 years perfecting her craft in stock theater before deciding to make a name for herself in show business. Irene found her footing in musical comedy and variety shows while touring throughout California. It was during this time that she met fellow vaudeville performer Tim Ryan, and the two soon became a duo on and off stage. They were married in 1922, and their 20-year relationship brought them both great success in the entertainment industry. After becoming well-known in vaudeville, Irene and Tim Ryan's success moved to radio, where Tim and Irene, who started their own program, gained notoriety for their funny Dumb Dora performance, a comedy routine that included as Irene's comedic abilities were demonstrated on radio. She also started to make her mark on the silver screen alongside Tim, starring in a number of comedy shorts and appearing in 11 films together. She was a scatterbrained but endearing woman who swiftly became a national sensation. Their rising fame led to appearances on major shows of the time, such as The Bob Hope Show and The Ruddy Valley Show. The Wacky Family 1936, Hamlet and Eggs 1937, and Will You Stop 1937 were among their projects. Their on-screen chemistry reflected their real-life partnership, but despite their success in the workplace, their marriage ended in 1943 after 20 years of marriage. Despite this, Irene and Tim continued to work together on film projects. With World War II raging, comedian Bob Hope committed himself to providing entertainment for American troops. After working with him on The Bob Hope Show while stationed abroad, Irene was excited to help. She joined Hope's USO tours, which took her all over the world to entertain soldiers, visit veterans' hospitals, and make people laugh. Her dedication went beyond the war. She continued to support the troops during the 1948 Berlin airlift, lifting their spirits with her performances. Bob Hope, who knew firsthand how powerful comedy can be in difficult times, once reflected on the significance of their mission. Believe me when I say that he said, "There's a lump the size of Grant's tomb in your throat when they come up to you and shake your hand and mumble thanks." Laughter up at the front lines is a very precious thing to those grand guys who are giving and taking the awful business that goes on there. Imagine those guys thanking me and saying, "Look what they're doing for me and for you, Aju." Irene bringing joy to the soldiers was more than just another performance. It was a way to give back and use her talents for something meaningful, the better. Throughout the 1950s, Irene Ryan continued to develop her career by landing parts in a number of television shows. However, even though she was a well-respected actress, nothing could match the moment that would define her career in the 1960s, when the Beverly Hillbillies was being developed. Ryan had her sights set on playing Granny Daisy Moses, a fierce, no-nonsense matriarch who became the center of the Clampett family. But despite her wealth of experience, she nearly missed the part, decided to take matters into her own hands. Ryan personally called Paul Henning and boldly argued for herself, asking, "Look, Paul, do I have to go home and get my gray wig and shawl to convince you? According to the El Paso Times, if you get anybody older to play the role, she won't be able to stand the scrutiny. Honey, funny. He had relied on his casting agent to find the ideal grandmother, but Ryan wasn't their first choice. Henning later recalled a slightly different version of events, speaking to TV Legends, saying that Ryan had visited his office one day and he asked her directly if she thought she could play a hillbilly without missing a beat. She then launched into a story that left him wondering, "Are you kidding? Wondering, are you kidding?" She said, "I was in a stock company, and we played a theater in Arkansas. We kept waiting for the curtain to go up backstage, and when it didn't, we went to the manager and asked why he hadn't let the people in. He replied that if he had let them in before the curtain went up, they would have taken away the seats. So yeah, I know hillbillies." That was all Henning needed to hear. Irene Ryan had the experience, as well as the right amount of grit and humor, to make Granny Moses come to life. Henning remembered that when it came time for screen tests, Irene Ryan's audition left no doubt about who should play Granny B. Bennett. The Beverly Hillbillies, which debuted in 1962, quickly became a cultural phenomenon. The show followed Buddy Ebsen's character, Jed Clampett, a simple countryman who suddenly became a millionaire after discovering oil on his land, rather than living lavishly in his familiar rural surroundings. Mordecai music. Henning explained the tryout process for the role of Granny, and as soon as Irene Ryan read it, she came over to me and said, "There's Granny. She was just wonderful." He packed up his family and relocated to Beverly Hills, where he lived with Ebsen and created a humorous clash between high society and traditional country ways. The cast included Max Baer Jr. as the lovable but dim-witted Jethro, Donna Douglas as the charming and sweet Ellie Mae Clampett, and of course Irene Ryan as Granny, the feisty, no-nonsense family matriarch who kept everyone in line. Within 3 weeks of the show's premiere, the Beverly Hillbillies shot to the top spot. Behind the scenes, the producers kept a few secrets from the public, ensuring that the magic of the show remained. The Beverly Hillbillies is still a beloved classic, with reruns still airing for new generations to enjoy. Even after landing the role, Ryan never let herself feel too much pressure. The show even beat Bob Hope's legendary show in audience surveys, setting a record for the fastest rise to the top in television history, according to IMDb. In a 1965 interview with the Star-Gazette, Ryan acknowledged that, despite the Beverly Hillbillies becoming one of the biggest television hits, she carried an underlying fear that her job could be taken away at any time. She said, "I'm the first one on the set for every scene all my life I've been on time. I was always scared I would be fired, and you know something, I'm still scared. That fear wasn't unfounded." Ryan had spent her entire career working hard, touring in vaudeville, adjusting to radio, and then moving into television. When she first played Granny in the Beverly Hillbillies, Irene Ryan was 59 years old, and one of the most unexpected things about her performance was how much older she looked on screen than she actually was. She had learned early on that show business was unpredictable and that she should never take stability for granted. Even at the height of her success, she remained vigilant and always ready for the possibility that everything could change in an instant. Given that she was Jed Clampett's mother-in-law, and that Jed wasn't exactly young, Ryan's actual age when the show debuted in 1962 was only 59 years old. Far from the elderly matriarch she convincingly played, Granny, who often reminisced about the Civil War and other 19th century events. Granny was portrayed as a tough-as-nails old woman well into her twilight years, and by the time the series ended in 1971, Ryan was still less than 70 decades younger than Granny's implied age to bridge this gap. Every day of filming, Ryan underwent a transformation that required extensive makeup application to age her face. The makeup team used a combination of contouring techniques, wrinkles, and shadows to add depth and exaggerate lines, making her appear much older than she actually was. Her signature gray wig and her dowdy vintage costumes further enhanced the illusion. The aging process used on the Beverly Hillbillies was so successful at the time that viewers were unaware of it. Ryan was not a real elderly woman. The methods she used later became commonplace for film and television, influencing the makeup style seen in shows like The Golden Girls on the lower resolution televisions of the 1960s and 1970s. The transformation was smooth, and only with the introduction of high-definition technology decades later did some of the makeup techniques become more obvious. Nevertheless, Ryan's portrayal was so convincing that viewers hardly ever question her age today. Irene Ryan played Granny for all of Irene Ryan was nominated for an Emmy in 1963 and 1964 for outstanding continued performance by an actress in a series. Irene Ryan wanted to play Granny for as long as she could, and if there was one word missing from her vocabulary, it was retirement. In an interview with the Sydney Morning Post, Ryan stated that she had no plans to retire from acting and that she wanted to play the role forever. The 274 episodes of the Beverly Hillbillies aired until 1971 after 9 seasons. By that time, the show had already received multiple nominations and awards, and Irene was not left out. At the time of the interview, Ryan was in Sydney for a special appearance at the South Sydney Junior League's club. Morning Herald made her stance crystal clear: "Retire, honey. I want to die with my boots on." She declared that quitting simply wasn't an option for Ryan because her success on the Beverly Hillbillies was everything she had dreamed of, but she found that fans only recognized her when she spoke. My voice always gives me away," she explained. Although she didn't reveal the specifics of her performance, she did imply that some of Granny's trademarks were hidden in her luggage. Ryan didn't hesitate to take the character from the small screen to the stage because audiences loved seeing her perform live. "I did her in Las Vegas, and she went down like a bomb." She shared that despite being so closely associated with Granny, the character's enormous popularity was very different from the straightforward tough guy. "I won't say how old I am, but I've played in every type of show business for over 50 years except burlesque." "I was never the type," she said, laughing. But no matter what, she had no plans to slow down. "I want to continue playing Granny till I drop." Love Matriarch, who played off-screen, was warm and kind, and had a career that spanned over 50 years, performing in nearly every corner of the entertainment industry. After the Beverly Hillbillies ended, Ryan found success on Broadway. Instead of pursuing a career in film or television, Irene Ryan returned to her first love, live theater, and reflected on her love for the stage. She told the El Paso Times that nothing could ever replace the live stage for an actor, but television is here to stay and is the greatest entertainment medium we've ever seen. Ryan took on a new challenge in addition to receiving 2 Emmy nominations for her role as Granny on the Beverly Hillbillies in 1963 and 1964. She wowed audiences on Broadway by landing the role of Barra the feisty grandmother in Bob Fye's musical Pippin in her 70s. Her performance of No Time at All became an immediate hit, bringing the house down night after night, and the New York Times praised her ability to steal the show, writing in Pippin as those who have Ryan may have been small in stature, but she had boundless energy. Frequently staying backstage with the crew long after her performance was over. Even at 70, she kept up with the fast pace of Broadway, handling the backstage chaos like someone half her age financially. She was on stage for only about 10 minutes and stopped the show cold. John Rubinstein was left on stage after her exit, unable to speak his next line until her applause diminished at just 5-2 in. She had a net worth of $1 million after years of wise investments and careful saving. She passed away on April 26, 1973, after suffering a stroke while performing on stage. She was transported back to Los Angeles, where she died of glioblastoma and arteriosclerotic heart disease. Irene Ryan loved acting more than anything else, and she remained committed to her career until the end, exhibiting the same grit and determination that Irene Ryan, who made Granny on the Beverly Hillbillies such a memorable character, left her entire fortune to students. According to the press of Atlantic City, Ryan was not only devoted to her work but also deeply committed to giving back. She founded the Irene Ryan Foundation to support aspiring young actors. True to her generosity, she made sure that her fortune would continue to help others even after her death. With no immediate family to leave behind, Ryan donated her entire estate to the foundation, which established theater student scholarships. This legacy will continue to support upcoming generations of performers. In her last days, Ryan was performing on Broadway in Pippin, where she made her debut at the age of 70 as Bertie, a regal but vivacious medieval grandmother. Her performance earned her a Tony Award nomination, demonstrating her continued talent. But on March 10, 1973, she collapsed on stage and Ryan was a guiding light that shines even decades after her passing. Her legacy endures through the laughter she brought to audiences and the opportunities she created for young actors. She was rushed to St. John's Hospital in Los Angeles on April 26th after suffering a stroke. Her co-star buddy, Beverly Hillbilly, once said that she was a joy to work with, a sentiment that many people who knew her, whether on television, the stage, or behind the scenes with her foundation, shared. A lesser-known aspect of Irene Ryan's life is the abandoned house she once owned. The house has since fallen into disrepair, but it still serves as a silent reminder of the actress's life outside of Hollywood. And her portrayal of Granny Clamp Pitt made her a household name among her real-life residents. Irene Ryan was an inspiration to many, but she was much more than that. This is much more than that. Told a different story than the opulent Beverly Hills mansion that was portrayed on television. Her real home was much more modest, and over time, nature gradually reclaimed it. According to reports and accounts from urban exploration, the house is still mostly intact, with furniture, personal belongings, and even some artifacts from her career strewn throughout. Some claim that old newspaper clippings, framed photos, and memorabilia still line the dusty shelves, providing a glimpse into her life away from the spotlight. Though her home is now a forgotten relic of Hollywood's golden era, fans of the Beverly Hillbillies still cherish Ryan's memory because they remember her not only for Granny's hilarious antics, but also for her genuine generosity and devotion to the craft. Although Ryan passed away in 1973, she left behind a fortune that she used to support aspiring actors through the Irene Ryan Foundation. If you enjoyed this in-depth look, her legacy endures. Please remember to like, subscribe, and enable notifications for more stuff like this as you delve deeper into the lives of Daisy, Grandma Moses, and Irene Ryan.